like your movies with extra cheese? If that is the case, you may like Home Sweet Home Rebirth. Now, this is actually a Thai movie, although it is mostly spoken in English, and is actually based on a video game, I believe, from 2017. I don't think it's a direct adaptation, it's more a spin-off in universe. And the story focuses on a family. A young girl and her parents, a Thai mother, an American father called Jake McAmerican or something. And they are travelling to Thailand to visit the mother's grandmother, basically. And upon, arriving at Thailand, this Jake is told that he is the chosen one for some kind of mysterious prophecy, and it may well appear that is correct, as he gets involved in this basically plot to open the gates of hell, where this necromancer is kind of planning to unleash demons upon mankind, and this Jake and his family kind of get wrapped up on it, and Jake is the only one to stop it. And we have a kind of situation where he has to kind of toggle between the real world and the spirit world, and fight both kind of demons and creatures in the spirit world, plus kind of like cultists and possessed people in the real world, all whilst trying to kind of save his family. What will happen? You will have to watch the movie and find out. So this is incredibly cheesy. I wasn't quite sure how to classify this movie in regards to genre, because although you might consider it a horror movie because it involves demons, the gates of hell, possession, things like that, it's not trying to be remotely scary, and kind of plays more like a fantasy action movie. So I guess you would kind of say it's a horror fantasy action movie. So there you go. Let's talk about what works. I mean, it's kind of crazy. It's very kind of like big ideas, gates of hell, flitting between dimensions, the afterlife, demonic possession, monsters, necromancers. There's all sorts kind of going on here. And obviously, being a movie filmed in Thailand, it actually has a reasonable production value in some aspects. We do have quite a lot of scenes with a lot of extras. There seems to be lots of kind of set decoration with kind of damaged cars and stuff. A lot of this is achieved digitally, but I do say that there is still some sort of work that was done clearly on kind of sets and things like that, or location shooting, which I think looks kind of quite impressive. We have, I say, a lot of extras, a lot of kind of like decimated sets of various kind of like, it all takes place around this mall originally, in this kind of hotel area, and this kind of destroyed city. So I've got to say, it does have some cheaper elements, particularly with the kind of the digital VFX, but nonetheless, I think some of the kind of the set design here is kind of quite impressive. There's lots of kind of like over-the-top creatures and stuff. Probably the most memorable here is this kaiju-sized kind of zombie-looking thing, which kind of is stomping around and all realised via CGI, and pretty impressive, quite kind of unique looking, I guess you would say. Looks a little bit like Attack on Titan or whatever it's called, the anime. But yeah, it's kind of quite fun. But we've got winged gargoyles, kind of like kind of insect monster things, and various kind of zombie types and that as well. So there's quite a lot going on in the visual department. Some of it's kind of realised through CGI, some of it's kind of through practical. But there's, a lot of variety here. It's pretty fast paced. We have quite a kind of charismatic bad guy. Our necromancer has this kind of main henchman who is a kind of a criminal who basically kind of sells his soul to this necromancer, and he's our kind of mid-level boss, I suppose. But he's quite a kind of a charismatic bad guy, and there's a few kind of fight scenes and stuff like that involving Jake and this kind of guy. One element which I thought was quite fun was the fact that there's a little bit of kind of body hopping going on. So The movie in some areas actually plays a little bit like Face Off, as in the Nicolas Cage and John Travolta movie, where we have characters possessing different bodies, and our kind of wife and daughter don't really know what they're looking at, because in one instance we have the body of the husband being possessed by someone else, and the husband possessing another guy. So it kind of ends up being like a situation where we have like Face Off, as I say, and it's quite a kind of a fun, neat idea, I think, and adds to some confusion in the mix and things like that. If you like cheesiness, this is very much it. Now, as I say, I class this as a horror film purely because some of the subject matter, but it is not a scary film or a gory film in any sense. There's a reasonable amount of violence, but none of it's too gratuitous, to be honest with you. A lot of it is, you know, people just getting sort of shot quite far away, so we don't see anything too sort of graphic. So I will say this film plays a little bit like a film which is suitable for younger kind of horror fans and things like that, and ones that maybe, you know, you don't want to expose too much of a kind of a graphic, and this plays a little bit more like a, well, to be honest with you, a video game movie, which obviously it actually is. And it very much plays like that. So think, you know, along the lines of, in a way, like the Resident Evil series. Sort of that sort of thing. As much as that is a horror film, this is kind of like a horror film as well. There's some fairly, you know, reasonable kind of choreographed kind of fight sequences and stuff like this. And it pretty much gets going more or less kind of straight away. Which leads me to what doesn't work. I think this movie really doesn't have a huge amount of setup. I really don't think we got to know our characters before it kind of all starts kind of going wrong. And the characterization we do get, I think, is rather hokey, I have to say. I mean, our father, who is Jake, our main character, I know the whole thing is they're meant to be on vacation, and he's like a workaholic, and he's always on his phone and stuff like that, not to work. And I was like, that just seems disorganised to me. Surely if you're going on vacation, you would be able to kind of sort your stuff out. I mean, it's not like he's an owner of a company or anything where he's like, you know, the bottom line, you know, the buck stops with him or anything like that. So I kind of thought that was a little silly, to be honest. And it's just, it's clearly like just a trope of the workaholic dad and stuff like that. But yeah, we don't really get much of any type of characterisation. And our main guy, Jake, who's like an ex-cop or something, and it's so stereotypical. It's such a stereotypical kind of set of characters here. Now, as I say, this is mostly spoken in English. We do get a few lines here and there in Thai. The acting, it's kind of cheesy, as I say. I mean, like I said, some of it, I like our bad guy. He's kind of quite charismatic, but I don't really feel our protagonist's got a lot of meat on the bones in their characters. And although I wouldn't say the acting is necessarily bad, particularly when you have to realise that, you know, a lot of these are Thai actors speaking in English and stuff, but, you know, yeah, it's kind of a little on the kind of the cheese side, a lot with the rest of the movie, to be honest. The CGI here is noticeably CGI. I mean, it's obviously coming from, you know, a relatively minor kind of studio in regards to the kind of the world, you know, CGI houses and things like this. So the CGI isn't brilliant, and you know, it very much looks like it's taken straight from a video game and plonked in a kind of a live action film. And there is quite a lot of it. You know, we do get quite a lot of kind of these various kind of monsters. It looks a little better when we have some of the kind of the practical makeup and stuff, but it's mostly CGI baddies, I have to say. And you know, there's lots of kind of like, you know, oh, you're the chosen one because of some arbitrary reason and things like this. And we have this kind of guy who's like our guide, and he can't get involved directly, but he sometimes is there, but conveniently kind of disappears in certain sequences. And then he says he can't do violence, but then we kind of see him fighting various things and stuff like that. And you know, it all seems a little bit kind of like, yeah, whatever, just kind of like, you know, excuse for the kind of the plot to move forward and things like this. you know, it's just a very sort of silly film, in all honesty. Nothing really sort of seems too sort of particularly sort of gritty in the fact that you can't really grasp onto it. All very much seems like almost like a 90s film, like a 90s style movie where it's just kind of lots of big bang whiz and stuff like that, and you know, you kind of, yeah, all right, fine, but it's really nothing sort of substantial in there, really. As I say, a bit of subpar acting, a bit of subpar kind of characterization, subpar effects. You know, lots of kind of action sequences and stuff like that, but nothing really, I think, that it's going to write home about. Overall, it's all sort of, you know, fairly sort of passable. But ultimately a little unsatisfying and a little unmemorable, if not, you know, it's still somewhat a watchable film. And therefore it's kind of around the kind of the middle ground, I would say, this movie. It's very much like watchable but pretty forgettable, but you'd probably never watch it again. It certainly sets up a sequel. Yeah, I'll give it a 5 out of 10. It's okay, but nothing special. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look for you next time. Bye for now.